Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. I'm hosting the show today, so it's basically another edition of Advil Cold and Sinus Hour, because that's how it's been for me lately. I swear this shit is killing me. It's not just me. It seems to be everyone lately. We've got these head colds, and nobody can get rid of them, and I'm dying here. I didn't realize I started to think I was getting over it the other day, and then I forget what I was doing. I was maybe cutting something up on our podcast, and I was replaying our last episode, and I listen. I'm like, oh my god, I sound so stuffy. I sound absolutely terrible. So it's been a struggle, but much like the creating content this time of year, you just got to struggle through it and get there. I'm Aaron St. Denis. You can find me on social media at FF Mad Scientist. That is Jesse Moeller. Find him at JMoeller05. And today we are back for an AFC North Superlatives show. I guess we'll start with quarterbacks. Like I said, the only rules we had were it didn't apply to the quarterbacks, but in the case where there is no obvious starter and a glaring need, I went to mock draft database and I put whatever rookie was most mocked to them. So if there's a quarterback in this situation, like if you prefer Justin Fields over Russell Wilson, you can sub them in. But when we get to the rookies, we're just going to stick with the rookie that's on the board, the most obvious rookie to go to them. Like it was Caleb Williams at Chicago. We're not going to play, well, what if they take the 8th quarterback? We're going to go with the rookie that's most mocked to them. But we will get started here. Actually, before we do, head over to the fantasyfootballuniverse.com. We have all the sneak peeks done for 150-something rookies. If you want to learn more before, I know the NFL draft hits next Thursday, so that means Sunday, Monday-ish is probably going to be the hot spot for rookie startup drafts. I know most of mine are scheduled for, I don't know if I have about half that are the following day on Monday, and then half that are on the Sunday, because I like to leave a week or two to digest and kind of see, I don't want to go shotgun where it's like, oh, everyone got drafted here. I'd like to have a week or two to process this and see where I think and build them into my projections and then draft. But as of next week, we're going to have some landing spots, and so it's going to pick back up. So go check out our rookies there, our rookie sneak peeks there. Follow us anywhere on social media, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, either at our handles or at the FF Universe. Like, follow, subscribe, rate, comment, all that fun stuff. We would appreciate it. We reply to pretty much everything, even if it's ignorant. If it's ignorant, I reply back, and you probably won't like it. I am not well-mannered. A lot of the other guys are the let's just let shit go kind of people. Not me. I like to hold a grudge, boys. So come on, come at me. I love it. I see. I should be a professional wrestler. I play a natural heel like Dominic Mysterio. I'm just good at being the bad guy. So come on over. So let's get this fired up. We got AFC North quarterbacks here. I think we're going to have an obvious situation here, whether it be dynasty or redraft. I think I value them the same. Redraft-wise, I got Lamar, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, insert Pittsburgh quarterback here. The only difference for me, I think in redraft, this may be, or dynasty, this may be a hot take. I flipped Joe Burrow ahead of Lamar. I just think this is just me, me. I do not like the rushing quarterbacks long term. I treat them like running backs where they have much lower or much shorter windows here of opportunity, and when they lose the rushing or the abilities, they tend to drop off quickly. They're a lot more injury prone, which I guess technically isn't true. It just seems that way. But so I have it Lamar and Burrow, but I flip-flop it for dynasty. I would rather have me the traditional pocket passer. Where do you fall on this, dynasty or redraft wise?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think it's interesting however you want to go between Lamar and Joe, right? It's like if you want the rushing upside Lamar offers, go for it. But like I do wonder if his upside is kind of capped nowadays, because we've seen him the last few years. He was the MVP and he was still not giving you the massive points per game difference compared to like a Josh Allen or those things. So I think we kind of have to come to terms with Lamar and who he is at this point, which is a very good quarterback, but he's similar to Burrow. So if you have Burrow above him, I have the back-to-back. Lamar is my QB, I think 5.
You're talking redraft or dynasty?
In dynasty, sorry. In dynasty, like they're back-to-back. He's 5. Joe Burrow 6, so that's where they're at. They're just kind of right there, and I'm not too worried about them, honestly. In redraft, yeah, I'll have Lamar above him just because Burrow had a bad season last year, injured, all that fun stuff. But they're basically you're flipping a coin between two of them. It's really just whichever coin you prefer, right? You prefer the rushing, Lamar. Same thing with Joe. I think Watson's interesting. We've seen a lot of buy low content for him recently. But if he's bad this year, his value is absolutely going to get eviscerated. Like he's going in the 6th round with Bryce Young and those guys. If he falters this year, he's going to completely tank to like the 10th round startup. So kind of what we're seeing from Russell Wilson this year, where he's going really late. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with those guys. And redrafts, I don't know about you, but I'm not really that interested in Watson. I would much rather see him prove it before I'm investing in him as my quarterback. Like you want him as your QB2, fine, you can go for that. But yeah, I'm just not that interested. And Russell is just like, at some point. So nothing.
Dynasty or redraft, I think I only really want the 2 QBs in the middle in this division. Mm-hmm. I get like in Superflex, you're going to own the roster of the other guys. Yes. Watson scares the hell out of me. Redraft, I guess Superflex redraft, if he falls, there's a price point where I will take Watson. There's a price point where I will take Wilson. I'm not going to have any of these or either of these guys unless they really fall. It's going to be a cost point for me in redraft or dynasty. Justin Fields, I find interesting. I'm going to have very little of him in redraft. I can guarantee you that. Dynasty, I may acquire some cheap shares, not only because I don't know if he isn't just flat out better than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's also old. So once again, like I said, though, whether it be Watson, Wilson, Fields, if I have shares of them, they are going to be late round, almost free shares or throw-ins in trades. But for me, like I said, I think we all agree this is a 2 QB division here. Burrow and Jackson are the class. They are the only ones anyone really wants. Who's the backup in Cleveland now? Is it still DTR? It's not Flacco. Flacco moved on, right?
They brought in somebody. I'm not sure. Actually, I can look it up while I'm talking, but I'm not sure.
Just trying to think. I even forget where'd Flacco go?
He went to Indy.
He did go to Indy. You're right. Let me type in Watson here. We'll get the old depth chart going up. Cleveland's depth chart. Tyler Huntley. Oh, they got Jameis Winston.
There it is. The all serial offender team. It's Cleveland. That's just what they're going with over there.
So but, I'm not entirely convinced that Jameis Winston can't beat out Deshaun Watson for this job. So doesn't encourage me.
No, I don't feel good about either one of those guys. We've seen Jameis Winston the last few years. He's been very conservative with how he's played quarterback. It's not the Tampa Bay Jameis Winston. We saw him in like New Orleans and what he was doing. They were run heavy. He was not passing a lot. So I literally just don't think Watson, like either Watson or Jameis Winston, either one of those guys, they got to prove it. And Watson hasn't been good in a couple of years. Jameis Winston hasn't been good in a couple of years either. He had that one massive touchdown, like he was at like 9% touchdown rate that one year, a couple of years in where he came in. I think he had like 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but he just did not look very good. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe he can go hammer it, but yeah, I'm not really that bold on Watson. I have a couple on rosters. It's just kind of stuck with me. I think he's my QB 23 in Dynasty, right there with Will Levis, Baker Mayfield, those guys.
Okay, we're gonna focus strictly on the Steelers here to finish it out. For redraft, I think I'm going Wilson. If I'm in single QB, I want neither of these. I'm going Wilson over Fields. I think in Dynasty, I'd rather just have a shot of Fields, assuming it's at a lower cost. What are your thoughts here on redraft and Dynasty for the 2 sterling quarterbacks the Steelers have?
Yeah, if I have the choice between the two, I'm just going to roll with Wilson because I know he's starting. But if you want to go the Dynasty mindset of, you hold Fields and hopefully he gets a shot because Wilson struggles on the team, the defense is good. So you're talking yourself into Fields. But this is the last kind of hurrah for Justin Fields. If he does not do good this year, I don't see a case where he's a starting quarterback outside of this year. So he needs to prove it and gets it because as a team, the Steelers are not going to take on his 5th-year contract. They're not going to take the $20 million hit. They're going to let him be a free agent after this year, and then he'll sign with whoever, right? Because why would you pay him $20 million as backup? So you can talk yourself into Fields, but he needs to prove it. And if he doesn't prove it this year, it's going to be a similar track with Russell Wilson. It's like, all right, he's on my roster, but I'm not throwing him.
It's amazing how bad some of the recent rookie quarterback classes have turned out to be. Even the ones where initially we thought initially Trevor Lawrence was going to be a stud. We thought Justin Fields was a top 6 quarterback, and boy, did that all fucking fall off the face of the earth pretty quickly.
Yes, it did.
This running backs in this division, they're kind of scary here. So we're going to give you some options here. But so Cleveland on the board has Chubb. You can also factor in Jerome Ford. I don't, but the Bengals, that's so weird saying Bengals and then seeing a Colt on the screen, but the Bengals, we have Zach Moss. And if you really want, I guess in Dynasty, I will factor in Chase Brown. I was big on Chase Brown. The Ravens, we are left with Derrick Henry. Do they have anyone left? J.K. Dobbins is gone. Gus Edwards is gone. Oh, Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, he's coming off injury. Like I would not factor
Keaton
him at
Mitchell, I guess, for Dynasty. And then we have the Steelers with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. I am going to start here in redraft. And this is ugly. I think for me, out of the 8 potential running backs in this division in redraft, this is scary to say, but it's Derrick Henry by a bajillion miles for me.
It's not even.
It's not even close.
It's Derrick Henry's going to be going around like late round 1, early round 2 in redraft. So he's going to be.
That's what we need to do. We need to do us a redraft mock draft. We've all been doing Dynasty. I know it's Dynasty season, but
yeah, I think Najee Harris is probably the next back off. And then it's Zach Moss, and then pick your Cleveland Brown. I would pick not Nick Chubb because that's a severe injury, and I need to see it before I'm investing any capital in. I'm like, I'll just go with Jerome Ford. But you could talk yourself into Chubb. He's going to be the 4th guy off the board out of all of this group. And I think it probably goes Henry, Harris, Moss, probably Warren, and then pick your Cleveland Brown running back. I think that's how it goes.
And then round it out with the 2 backups in Cincy and Baltimore. Yeah, okay. So it's a little more interesting, I think, here if we look at it from Dynasty. Yeah. Dynasty, so that eliminates Henry and Chubb probably. It also eliminates probably Zach Moss as the one, I mean. So then you're left with the options of Ford, Chase Brown, Keaton Mitchell, or Steelers running back. Am I out of my mind to say that? I think maybe it's Jerome Ford, but for me, it's Jerome Ford or Chase Brown as the one for Dynasty in this. I'm high on Chase Brown, so that would have been my answer, but I think most people are going to say Jerome Ford, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you want here?
The way I play running backs is if you're high in redraft, you're going to be high in Dynasty. Like I'm literally, if I'm investing in any of these guys, it's either going to be Najee Harris or it's going to be Derrick Henry, and then maybe Zach Moss if you want to do that. Yeah. Because like with these running back windows, we're only going 2-3 years, right? And Derrick Henry's on a 2-year deal in Baltimore. I'll take the 2-year deal with him and deal with it. I like Zach Moss, so you can talk yourself to Zach Moss, but he's on a 1-year deal, I think, in it was Cincinnati, and we don't know how it's going to go. So there's just so much uncertainty with these guys. I would just invest in the sure thing in Derrick Henry or Najee Harris, and then like the Nick Chubb stuff, Jerome Ford. Like I like Jerome Ford, but there's so much risk with all of these guys. Just give me the proven producer.
All right, I guess let's do a little thought experiment here. We'll go team by team. For the Browns, who do you prefer redraft? Who do you prefer dynasty? I am going to go Jerome Ford in both.
Same. I'm Jerome Ford. I was a big Jerome Ford guy last year. He was good. I'll run it back with Jerome Ford.
Okay. Bengals, I think it's a split. I'll take Moss in redraft, Brown in dynasty. You?
I'll take whoever. My thought process is whoever I'm investing in redraft, I'm going to invest in dynasty. So I'm going to take Zach possible.
Okay. So then this one's an easy answer for you. It's Derrick Henry in both.
Yes.
And this one, I guess, it's tough to be. It's weird because I was out on Najee and I loved Jalen Warren. And then the cost on Jalen Warren skyrocketed, but his usage didn't get any better. And then the cost just kept going up and up to the point where I said, fuck this, we've overcompensated. And I swung back to Najee. I think I would prefer Najee here in both. What do you think? Najee or Warren?
It's all about cost related. If I can get Warren for cheaper,
I'm assuming there's similar costs. They've normally been going late in the same range.
I'll just take Najee. Like we know he's going to be getting the touches and getting work. It's going to be a split where both those guys kind of just drive you crazy. But I'll take the guy getting the majority of touches. We saw Najee last year. I know we didn't like him, but he was good. He did a lot of things well. Their offensive line was pretty atrocious, and he was still good. So I'll take Najee.
All right. That was an interesting running back group there. That's quite unique. There wasn't really a one standout, I guess, unless you talk about what's left of Derrick Henry. But we'll move on to wide receivers where this is probably the strength of the division. Once again, you can include whoever you want in the backup. So we've got Cleveland. I have Cooper on here. Judy. I don't think anyone's taking Judy as the one, but maybe in Dynasty. I don't know. Cincy, it's pretty easily Jamar Chase. Then we've got T. Higgins with him. Baltimore, we have Zay Flowers. And then Pittsburgh, we have Pickens. So redraft for me, this is going to be scary, but for me, it's Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, then Cooper, Pickens, Flowers, Judy. But Cooper, Pickens, Flowers are all pretty grouped together for me. But I think the Bengals have the two best redraft receivers in this division. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you could talk yourself into Amari Cooper with you just kind of have to believe in the quarterback situation.
I don't.
Well, yeah, that's the problem, right? So I think it's clearly Jamar Chase, and then it's a giant chasm to my number 2 guy. You could talk yourself into Flowers if you really want to go Flowers, but I kind of have Higgins, Flowers, and Cooper's all grouped together. Pickens is kind of the wild card of this group, but man, I hate that offense. Same thing with Russell Wilson. Another quarterback situation is uncertainty. I would rather just take Zay Flowers. I know at least Lamar's quarterback. That's what you're going to get. Yeah, so I'll go with that. But Higgins, Flowers, Cooper, they're all kind of grouped together. So just pick your flavor, I guess.
Dynasty, I think my answer is similar. It's still Jamar Chase far and away. The only difference here is I think it then becomes Higgins, Flowers, Pickens together, then Cooper after, because Cooper gets dropped to the bottom of this group for me because of age, and then Jerry Jeudy comes in last once again. How does Dynasty change this for you?
Yeah, I'm with you on that because Cooper's not young. I think he's pushing 29.
I thought he's older than that, isn't he? I'll look it up. Keep talking.
He's been around a long time. He's been young, but yeah, it's literally just pick your flavor.
I'm looking at 29. He'll be 30 this season.
Yeah, and Zay Flowers is what 22,
23? 10th year.
And in Dynasty, I have Higgins and Flowers back to back. Pickens is a few shots lower. He's my
23 for Zay.
Yeah, and Cooper comes in like 36. It looks like he's my 37. So Cooper's the last of the bunch. I'll take Flowers. He was better, but man, I actually like Pickens' talent a lot. I just hate the situation. So it'll be Flowers, Higgins back to back. My thought process on that is I want to chase the wide receiver 1 on the team as opposed to wide receiver 2. Even I get it. It's Jamar. It's why am I blanking on the quarterback's name? Just
Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Yeah, there we go. So they have Burrow supporting them compared to Lamar, but I'll take the shot on the wide receiver 1. Yeah. So I'll have Flowers, Higgins, Pickens, and then Cooper.
Judy's still below Cooper even in Dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
Dead at this point.
I don't know if he's dead, but he's really
life support at this point.
Yeah, he's hanging on. He needs to show something this year, especially because he's competing with their tight end, right?
Yeah. We have anyone? I can't tell you the truth. I can't even tell you who the backups are on this team. Was it Calvin Austin on Pittsburgh? Who else does Baltimore have? OBJ's gone, right?
Yeah, they have. They just signed
Bateman. Bateman's still there.
Yeah, Bateman's there, and the guy who can't catch with the meme. I can't remember his name from Baltimore. They had it was in Philadelphia where they did the interview. I have to look him up. The wide receiver is it's Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, Deontay Hardy. You love it.
Did Bateman's value fall off? Remember when Bateman was like a top 3-4 round pick, and now he's dead? Man. You forget he's even on the roster.
He was my wide receiver 2 of that group. With Jamar
but that's one of the reasons why I was scared and still am scared of Jameson Williams. Even if there's talent, these players who early in their career, they missed the first year due to injury. Then the second year, they struggle with injury or gambling, blah, blah. These players, even the highly talented ones, when they don't take off pretty soon, each year they don't take off, it's a longer and longer shot of them not getting there. And I think that's what we've seen with Bateman. And that's why I was so scared for Jameson Williams. The talent was there for both of them, but the situation buried them both.
It's funny you say that. So I invented my home league. I invested in Bateman. The second year I was out on him, somebody gave me the 106. Who did I spend the 106 on? Jameson Williams next year. So just back to back, just swing and a miss. I turned it into Eckler. It worked out fine on one championship. But man, it was those two guys really just shit the bed.
I still have some hope for J-Mo, but this year's the year he's gotta make it or break it here. So
right, because we talked about this before. The Lions could invest in another wide receiver and just be like, all right, sorry, James.
Oh, yeah. They draft a wide receiver. He's fucked.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So we have some interesting tight ends here. David Njoku on the Browns. Mike Gesicki, another weird one to say, on the Bengals. I actually don't hate that. I thought Gesicki was a good pass catcher and the Patriots killed him. But Mandrews on the Ravens. Freiermuth on the Steelers. So for me, I think this is going to be the same in redraft and dynasty. I'm going Andrews, Njoku, Freiermuth, Gesicki. I don't think that's all that controversial. I think it's pretty straightforward here. Andrews projects to be back, right? It was an ankle injury, a leg injury?
Yeah.
It wasn't an ACL or a knee or anything, right?
No, he's fine. He's supposed to be there week 1. It should be locked, ready to go.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. Andrews, Njoku, Fryermuth, Gesicki in redraft and dynasty. Does it change for you at all?
Nope. You could like I like Fryermuth as a player. He's dealt with injuries, so you could find a way to talk yourself into him like being closer to Njoku. But like we finally got the breakout from Njoku. I don't want to risk it with Fryermuth. It's just Andrews is a clear 1, Njoku's a clear 2, Fryermuth is a clear 3. You could do the Gesicki experiment, but we've done this before, man. I'm just gonna not touch that.
The only case I could make here between Fryermuth and Njoku is Njoku added competition. We got what is scary as it sounds, Jerry Jeudy is competition for targets. Pat Fryermuth lost targets or lost competition. And what do we always say? We want the guy who could possibly be the number 2 pass catcher on his team. So we got George Pickens and then Pat Fryermuth. Fryermuth could be the number 1. I don't think he will. He'll be the number 2, but that typically is a good situation. And number 2, I get it, it's a new quarterback, but Russell Wilson has proven he's been competent. So I could be convinced to take Fryermuth here, especially because I'm sure, I'm going to look it up right now, but I am sure he's significantly younger. He's 25. And Njoku, I feel, is 28 or 29. He is 27. So it's only 2 years difference, but I think I could be convinced. I may be talking myself into Fryermuth here just because I love that possibility to be the number 2 target. This is another one where the Steelers take a day 2 or a round 2 wide receiver, and suddenly I don't love them as much. Like they end up with Troy Franklin or Worthy or Mitchell or something, and then suddenly he's the 3 again. But for now, that could be the only case I think. But as it stands, it's probably Njoku.
Yeah, if you have Njoku, I think a way to go about this is tearing down to Fryermuth and getting a nice plus on top if you want to go that route. Because we got the Njoku. He was awesome down the stretch last year with Joe Flacco and those guys. Like he was carrying teams to championship. So yeah, like I'm actually fine moving off of him because I think Jerry Jeudy is more competition than people want to realize. And I'm not 100% sure with that Cleveland offense how it's going to go with Deshaun Watson, right? So we saw it. He finally kicked off when Watson got injured. They brought in Flacco, and then that's when Njoku really teared off.
They have some other receivers who are still on the roster that let me double check one of them that I had high hopes for, who never really panned out. But like Eli Moore is still on the roster. I was always high on him. I liked Cedric Tillman. I like David Bell. I don't think any of them are great, but like there's enough here where I could see this as a scenario where they spread the ball around and don't have just one alpha. So that worries me a bit. Whereas Fryermuth, it's pretty much clear sailing there. It's like George Pickens, who never really profiled to me as a high volume guy. He's the end zone target. He's the jump ball specialist, the one-handed OBJ type catch highlight reel guy, but he isn't really your PPR possession style receiver. Like he's a big play threat. So it just leads me to believe that Pittsburgh absolutely is drafting a receiver on day 2, if not 2. So
yeah, somebody's coming in.
As much potential as he once had, I think it's R.I.P. Gesicki. I don't mind this, but every year we've done this. Irv Smith and C.J. Uzama, and we say, "Oh, the Bengals need a tight end." Yeah, well, they always get a tight end, and they never fucking use them. So,
right, it's just people will talk themselves in with Burrow, but realistically, with Higgins there, he's the wide receiver too. He's not gonna out target him, right? So. He's the 3rd option at best on that team, and good luck. It's just not going to work, as unfortunate as it is.
This may rival the AFC West for best kicker division in football. It's tough. I think Boswell is obviously the worst kicker in this one in redraft and in dynasty, which my rankings don't change, so I don't know why I said that. I am going to go Justin Tucker, Justin Hopkins, Evan McPherson, and then Boswell. But for me, it's easily Tucker, who hasn't been, the number 1 lately, but it's Tucker for me. And then I'm flip-flopping back and forth between Hopkins and McPherson. I could be convinced to go either way. What are your thoughts?
Hopkins was good last year. I think he was the kicker.
Was he top 3, wasn't he? Or it was higher than that.
I'm looking at fantasy points for 2023. It looks like he had 149. Tucker had 160. Like, I mean, Aubrey was by far the best kicker, but Tucker
he was 9. You're right. He was 9. So.
And then I'm trying to find where McPherson falls on here, but he was
14.
14. Yeah, I mean, he's a really good kicker. So if I'm gonna do like a dynasty rankings, it's Tucker, McPherson. I mean, you could talk yourself into McPherson just because the age difference, but like I don't really want to play that game with kickers. I would just rather just take this your thing, right? I would probably have it Tucker, McPherson, Hopkins, and Boswell. Like Boswell. It's a tough place to play in Pittsburgh. Like it's windy. No, thank you.
Well, Tomlin doesn't like to kick. He doesn't kick extra points. He doesn't kick field goals.
Yeah,
shitty weather outdoors. Shitty offense.
I think, however, we do the redraft rankings and the dynasty rankings should reflect that with the kickers, right? So yeah, I'm with you. Tucker's just too good.
You're going to have one stud here, and then I think 2 top 12 or top 10 kickers. And then you're going to have Boswell, who he's just outside the top 12 for me. He falls in that range where he's always in my streaming category because he's not good enough to be a starting kicker in fantasy, but he's always like the top 3 or 4 guys on the waiver wire. So every time he gets a positive indoor game or a positive matchup, he's in my streaming category. So like I said, you got 3 probably must starts here, and then 1 who's going to be a constant streamer all season long. Check back for our fantasyfootballuniverse.com where I'll do my weekly streamer that I was doing last year. I forget what my end rankings were, but I was over 90% on DST and over 80% on kickers. It might be reversed, but I had a stretch there in the middle of the season where I was picking 4 streamers at each position, and I think I went like 17 in a row at each position without missing. So I was on fire there for a while, so I can't wait to bring that back and see if I can keep it going again. Not that a lot of you play in DST or kicker leagues, especially because most of the time, or most of the audience right now is the dynasty people. And I don't think I have too many dynasty leagues. I have a dynasty league with DST, and I try and get them to get rid of it every year.
Me too.
But really, I don't, aside from like my deep ones where it's all 22 or contract leagues, I don't have any DST or kicker dynasties, but
I think my 32 team league is the one that has defense and kickers in there where like you have to have them associated with the team.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. It's just it's fun, but I prefer not to have it. And redraft, yeah, I get it. Like we'll roll with the kickers and defense all the time.
I like it. It gives me an edge, but most people don't because most people don't really research that much. But all right, that concludes the AFC North Superlatives. Head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com for all of our written work, including our current rookie sneak peek series heading into next week's draft. Follow me, Jesse, Jeremy, SC, all of us on Twitter, any of the social medias, or the FFU on any social media. We would appreciate it if you like, subscribe, comment, reply, all that crap. Like I said, we're pretty interactive with everyone who listens to us. We will be back tomorrow with, I want to see the last NFC team or division being NFC South. I think they're tomorrow, but I'm not too sure. But either way, we will be back at noon tomorrow. Then I think we're going to kick off at some point this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, a mock draft or 2 to mix in with the other 2 divisional previews or divisional superlatives. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it looks like we are going to do the roster audit series. I got to break up a whole bunch of those. I got some work done. And then Thursday, we're going to do a day show, if I can get anybody else to come on here, day show for some players who have a lot to lose at the draft. And then we will be going live for at least all of day 1, depending on everyone else's schedule, potentially day 2, day 3, probably not. I didn't even book the day off. I'm going back to work. It's a long, 4-hour day of not really great picks anyways. So we will probably end up recapping day 3 at the end of the night and just go over the fantasy relevant players. You don't really need all 200 of those picks. So check back with us tomorrow at noon. For Aaron and Jesse, thank you all for tuning in. Take care. We will see you again tomorrow.